Welcome to the board meeting this evening. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We will first do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then after the Pledge of Allegiance, we do sit down and have a moment of silence, and then we will do roll call. So if you can stand with us, and please remove your hats, gentlemen. Director Jones, can you kick us off, please? All right, thank you very much. Amy, we can go ahead and take roll call.
Mr. Chavez.
Here.
Mrs. Evanson.
Here.
Mrs. Heights.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Lima. Here.
All right, do you have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
Mr. Chavez.
Yes.
Mrs. Evanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Heights.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Yes.
All right, next up, we have a meeting minutes and summary approval from our meeting January 7th, 2025 and January 21st, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes and the summary approval?
Motion to approve the meeting minutes and summary approval?
Second.
Mr. Chavez.
Approve.
Mrs. Evanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Heights.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Yes.
All right, next up on our agenda, we have our recognitions. So first up, we have our All-State Middle School Choir. And I think Director Chavez is going to kick us off with that one. And so what we'll have you all do is Sierra is going to be doing the photos. She's right there. She's got her hand raised. So please stay up towards the front and she will get a photo of you. So don't disperse right after you're done there.
Hello, everyone. With the students and directors involved in this year's middle school all-state choir, please join me in the front. The middle school all-state choir showcases the most talented young vocalists in Colorado, setting the stage for future success in high school choir and beyond. Open only to 7th and 8th graders, the audition process is rigorous. Students must not only demonstrate exceptional vocal ability, but also receive a director's recommendation affirming their talent and maturity to perform at a high level of caliber. This year's 7 outstanding District 51 students earned a spot in the All-State Choir Festival held earlier this month. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill congratulates this year's middle school All-States Choir participants in their dedication and achievement in the vocal arts. A thank you also goes to the directors for their continued support and leadership in guiding these talented students. I have something for y'all. Guinea Lewis. Natalie Burke. Amelia Belov. I say it close, and now you're close. Rayleigh Roops. Rayleigh Rubus. Thank you, Rayleigh. Akasha Smith. There you go, Akasha. Thank you. Lorelei Siebert. Here you go, man. I'm glad you guys are here to help me with the names. Magdalene Obi, and she's not here. There you go. Thank you all. Congratulations. I forgot to give the directors' names. They want to give me some extra hard trouble saying their names. It's David Seaman, Anna Roth, Casey Flick. I said it right. And Cassidy, thank you, Flick. Yeah, and Leah Skelton. Thank you all.
Will the Grand Junction High School Academic A Team and Coach Cody Shawcroft please come to the front? Under the dedicated leadership of Coach Shawcroft, the Grand Junction High School academic teams continue to excel, most recently securing second place at the State Quiz Bowl. The Quiz Bowl State Championship brings together top teams from across Colorado, competing in 2 spots at the national tournament in Atlanta, Georgia. Teams must win a series of high-stakes head-to-head rounds to advance. In a hard-fought championship match, Grand Junction High School came up just short against Broomfield in a close finish, earning second place and a spot at nationals. Grand Junction High School was led by senior Stuart Collins, the tournament's top scorer, along with captain Eric Turlow, junior Neil Scott, and junior Cooper Teskey. A huge shout out to Coach Shawcroft for leading and supporting the team through an intense competition season. The Board of Education and Superintendent Hill would like to recognize the members of our GJHS academic team and congratulate them on their second place Quiz Bowl State Championship finish. We look forward to seeing your success on the national stage and wish you the best of luck.
Good evening. With the students and the directors named to the 2024-25 All-State Band and Jazz Band, please join me at the front of the room. Each year, dedicated students in our school music programs devote countless hours of perfecting their craft and sharing their passion for music. Among these talented musicians, outstanding students were nominated by their band directors to audition for the prestigious All-State Band and Jazz Band. The All-State Band and Jazz Band festivals showcase Colorado's most talented high school musicians. This year, 3 outstanding D51 students earned the top spot in All-State Band, while 2 exceptional students secured a place at the All-State Jazz Band. This achievement highlights the incredible talent and dedication required to perform at this level. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill would like to recognize the following students and directors for their outstanding work and congratulate them on their accomplishments. Our All-State Band 2024-25 for Central High School, Nicholas Pint. From Palisade High School, Evan Edwards. Also from Palisade High School, Gavin Parker. For All-State Jazz Band 2024-25, from Grand Junction High School, Daniel Quinn Larkin. And finally, from Palisade High School, Connor Krager. The directors from Central High School is Hans Snell. At Grand Junction High School is Isaac Levide. And from Palisade High School, Lucas Reginald. Congratulations. All righty, would Ashlyn, or is it Warner? Warner? She's not here? Okay, well, we're going to recognize Ashlyn. She was from Independence Academy. She won the MLK Martin Luther King Jr. poster contest. So, congratulations. Would Linda Floor please join me at the front of the room? Mrs. Floor, assistant principal at West Middle School, was recently named the recipient of the prestigious Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching, PAEMST, the highest national honor for STEM educators in the United States. This award recognizes outstanding educators who demonstrate exceptional skill in teaching math and science while fostering a culture of curiosity and innovation in STEM education. Mrs. Floor's dedication to student success and her commitment to hands-on innovative teaching makes her truly deserving of this recognition. As a Pence awardee, Linda will receive a certificate signed by the president, a $10,000 award, and an opportunity to attend a ceremony in Washington, D.C. The Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Hill are very proud to recognize Ms. Floor for this well-earned honor. Her dedication to fostering a love of learning and science through hands-on, innovative teaching reflects her passion for STEM education. Thank you, Mrs. Floor, for your contributions to the STEM education and for inspiring the next generation of learners.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. If those of you would like to leave now, unless you'd like to stay for the rest of our board meeting, we'll give you a few minutes to go ahead and take your time to leave. Thank you all, and have a safe evening. And as they exit now, there are some seats available at the front for anybody standing at the back. There's plenty of chairs up front so everybody can have a seat. Yeah, there should be plenty of open spots now. All right, we will go ahead and resume our meeting. All right, board, we'll go ahead. We have good things and committee or activity updates, so anything to report out on over the last couple of weeks?
Yep.
Go for
The
it.
things is, D51 girls wrestling team won state champion. First ever. Congratulate to those girls.
Great. Saw that. That's awesome. Any other good things?
I went to Justin Whiteford's an international forum class, actually a couple weeks in a row, and had some pretty good conversations with the kids out there. And I want to thank Mr. Whiteford and his class for inviting me out there. And it was just a blast to listen to our kids and have a great time and just good, healthy debate. And we got some pretty smart kids here coming up, so
Yeah.
it was a good time.
Always fun to go to the classrooms. Yeah.
It was fun to go to the classroom. And I'm just trying to get back out into the schools a little bit now that things have settled down after the first of the year and before things get too crazy with the spring. And spring fever starts to hit everyone, which should be like next week, according to the weatherman. So, yeah, just getting back out into the schools and making those connections
Were
again.
some of you guys able to make it to the pancake?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, made it to the pancake at New Emerson, the pancake breakfast.
I was-
It was you could smell the sugar, from outside the building.
Good.
Good time was had by all. They said they had a very successful turnout. I got there kind of right in the middle, and they said that they had been very busy. I can't remember how many pounds of pancake mix that they said they went through, but it was a lot. So it's great to see that program really grow, and lots of members from just the community around there in Orchard Mesa, as well as past students. You could see the generations of students coming back for that, so it was very nice to see.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, I went out to Palisade for the sophomore, their projects that they have to do for, so I went around the gym and they had to present on their projects, so it was really good. It was fun to hear the students have to present on their projects, so that was good. I really appreciate the different staff and principals remembering to invite the board to those types of things when we can get out and make it. It's fun. So. All right, anything else, anybody? All right. All right, then we'll jump into D51 happenings and celebrations. Sierra.
Hello, board. I'm Sierra Colson, Marketing and Communications Specialist for D51 Schools, here to share with you the District 51 happenings and celebrations. Sarah Franklin, a dedicated teacher at Rocky Mountain Elementary, has been recognized as the February Golden Apple Award winner for her outstanding contributions to student success and school leadership. She plays a key role in ILT and MTSS, while also mentoring new teachers. Beyond the classroom, she actively volunteers, supports the PTA, and fosters a collaborative and innovative learning environment. Her leadership, passion, and commitment to excellence make a lasting impact on both students and colleagues, making her a deserving recipient of this honor. The week of February 3rd through 7th was National School Counselor Appreciation Week, and District 51 celebrated the invaluable contributions of its school counselors. Our dedicated school counselors provide guidance, support, and encouragement to students daily, helping them explore their strengths, set goals, and navigate academic, career, and personal challenges. They also play a crucial role in connecting families, teachers, and the community, ensuring every student have the resources needed for success. Their dedication shapes bright futures and helps students reach their full potential. A special thank you to Kayla Witzel, D51 School Counselor Coordinator, for organizing the Counselor's Breakfast, and to CMU for being engaged and supportive community partners and partnering with us on this event to celebrate everything that our D51 school counselors do. February is Career and Technical Education Month, a time to recognize the impact of CTE programs in preparing students for success in their careers and lives. In District 51, CTE plays an important role in equipping students with hands-on skills, real-world experience, and industry certifications across over 40 programs, from baking to engineering. These programs provide pathways in high-demand fields, ensuring students graduate with the knowledge and expertise needed to enter the workforce or continue their education with a competitive advantage. D51 CTE teachers guide and mentor students as they develop technical skills, critical thinking, and career readiness. Their dedication helps shape the future workforce and empowers students to pursue meaningful careers. Thank you. February 5th marked National Signing Day, the first opportunity for high school seniors to sign a binding national letter of intent to compete in collegiate athletics. This milestone recognizes student athletes who have excelled both academically and athletically, demonstrating dedication, perseverance, and talent while balancing their coursework with high-level competition. District 51 celebrates these athletes along with the families, coaches, and communities who have supported their journey. Congratulations to all student athletes who signed their national letter of intent. We look forward to watching you succeed at the next level. February 15th was National School Resource Officer Day, recognizing and appreciating the District 51 Safety and Security Team for their dedication to keeping schools safe. Our safety and security team is integral in building strong relationships, serving as mentors, and fostering a safe, supportive community where our students and staff can thrive. Also, a special thank you to our local law enforcement partners, Mesa County Sheriff's Office, Grand Junction Police Department, Fruita Police Department, and the Palisade Police Department for their daily presence in our schools. We partner with them to provide school resource officers inside our buildings who help support our students and staff and ensure a safe and welcoming environment. Their partnership and dedication to school safety make a lasting impact on our D51 community. Thanks to the generosity of Red Rock Auto Group Grand Junction and the School District 51 Foundation, 6 outstanding teachers and staff members, recipients of the D51 Foundation 2025 White Iced Award, were each awarded a 2-year lease on a brand new 2025 Nissan Leaf. This recognition highlights the incredible dedication of D51 educators and staff. Red Rock Auto Group and the D51 Foundation continue to be valued partners in supporting and celebrating those who make a difference in our schools. And finally, February 10th through 14th was National FBLA and FCCLA Week, celebrating future business leaders of America and family, career, and community leaders of America. Both organizations help students develop real-world skills, leadership, and career readiness. D51 is proud of our FBLA and FCCLA students for their dedication to leadership, service, and career development, shaping a stronger future for all. That's all we have for February happenings and celebrations. Be sure to keep up with all the latest D51 happenings by following us on social media at D51 Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Sierra. Just a reminder for anybody, if you've not done public comment before, our audience comment sheet is over here, just under the TV to my left, your right. So, all right, Dr. Hill, superintendent update.
So we just have one item tonight. I believe Amy Atwood is online, and she's here to give us a legislative update. So I'll turn it over to Amy.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Amy Atwood, contract lobbyist with D51. So we've been in session since January 8th, and really it's all been about the budget. The state budget is really in a bad place. We're coming into the year $1 billion down. And when we say that, that means just holding current obligations, Medicaid enrollment and inflation in K-12, we're already $1 billion down. So every department is being looked at for cuts, including K-12. I think that I don't think K-12 can come out unscathed without having some cuts. The talk is maybe $150 million specifically out of K-12 that is needed. The first place that they'll be looking is with grant programs. We believe that the READ Act grants will be protected, but all of the other grants, there are about 75 other grants that total about $78 million. And so that the grants are really on the table to be cut. That's the first place they're going to look. There's also discussion, and I've been working with Melanie on this, about averaging student enrollment. The governor proposed removing all averaging and just going with current year enrollment numbers. And that is a very big hit to D51. Currently, the district's on 5 years, the new school finance formula goes to 4 years. So going to zero really is, I mean, it's a big deal for everyone across the state that has declining enrollment. We do believe that we will have to go to 3 years. So to go from 5 to 4 to 3 years. And that is a place that the Joint Budget Committee will be able to find money out of K-12 education. There is also a lot of discussion, and again, Melanie and I talked about this with implementation of the new school finance formula. If you remember, the district supported that last year and benefits from the new school finance formula, or do we stay with the current formula that we've had for years? And there's a lot of discussion with it. The new formula is more expensive, but where can we get the money for that? So everything is revolving around the budget right now. And then if you also throw in the federal government and not knowing yet what the administration is going to do and what they could do for K-12 education, if there could be cuts coming down from the federal government. So, and that's not just in K-12, that's actually in Medicaid. So other places in the state budget are going to get pressure, are going to see pressure from what the administration does, from the Trump administration, like renewable energy projects right now there was an executive order that pulled some money from there. So does the state backfill that money? So it really is, I keep saying this, but it is across the board. Healthy meals for all, that is another one that they are looking at cutting. They don't know quite yet how they'll do that, if it'll be means tested or how they'll do that, but we know that healthy meals is certainly also on the table. And the Joint Budget Committee sent a letter. It was about 3 weeks ago now. This is unprecedented. They have never done it. They sent it to all the state agencies and the legislators, asking them not to spend any money that they didn't have to. So sometimes departments will spend down their budget at the end of the year in fear that if they don't spend all their money, they won't get that amount the next year. And the Joint Budget Committee asked them, please, if you don't have to spend it, please don't spend it, because we're going to need it to roll forward. And if you haven't filled positions, please don't fill those positions, because there may not be the money going forward. So that's really how severe it is here in Colorado. Colorado is not the only state in this position. Actually, there are a number of states across the country that are looking at big deficits. The COVID dollars are done. They're finished. They're spent. And so we don't have that money to backfill any programs. Some school districts are dealing with that as well. They started programs and now they may not have the money to continue with them. So that's where we are on the budget and school finance. I want to take a breath. Does anybody have any questions on that?
I just want to clarify, because we've got some folks in the room too, so they can understand where we're at with the budget. So my understanding is from Mel. She texted me last week and said, hey, they just came out with 14 different scenarios. So that's fun to try to budget with 14 different scenarios, but we won't actually find out which scenario is going to be used until later in the semester, obviously. But it could range anywhere from, for our district, if I'm understanding correctly, of potentially an increase of about $2 million to a decrease of about $9.3 million. So depending on, and if you're saying that maybe 3-year averaging is what they go with, like the 2.4 increase is only if we stick with 1448 the way it was actually written, which it sounds like they're not even really entertaining anymore. So I just think we need to be aware that for next year's budget, there's a good chance that we're going to actually get cut. And it could be, and if it's a 3-year averaging, it's somewhere between 3.3 million or 4.4 million that will be cut from our budget. And then, like I said, if it goes all the way to where the governor proposed, which is to get rid of averaging altogether, that's a $9.3 million hit to our school district. And now I'm going to look at Mel to see if I said anything wrong. Okay, she's saying I didn't. That's amazing, because she understands this better than anybody. So I just, when we're having these conversations about budgets and why we're having to make decisions around things like, unfortunately, school closures and things like that, It's because of the problem that we're dealing with being one of the lowest funded school districts in the state that clearly is not one of the best when it comes to K-12 funding in the country. And then because we are declining, we're going to get hit pretty hard this next school year, and it's going to continue to go in that direction from what the state demographer has told us. So I mean, I advocate as much as we can. If folks want to get involved and they want to advocate at the state level, they should be advocating right now to say, you promised us that 1448 was going to be implemented this next year, and now you're going back on that promise. And I'm just worried that if folks aren't paying attention, we're going to get hit really hard in our school district. I think we're one of the top 5 in the state when it comes to the hit that we're going to take for a budget. And so if folks want to get involved, you need to be calling your legislators and saying, support 1448 the way it actually was written and the way it was passed, because this feels like a little bit of bait and switch that happened with us, and we could get hit pretty hard this next school year.
I think everything that you said is correct. And the one place where the district really benefited was with the hold harmless provision in 1448, and advocating really hard that hold harmless doesn't go away. So, and then there was one other thing you said. They're talking about when it comes to rolling out 1448 in those 14 scenarios, that instead of rolling out fully at, it was supposed to be 18% next year, that they roll it out at 10% instead of 18%. And so just looking at how those numbers impact us, I have been working with Representative Taggart. As you know, he sits on the Joint Budget Committee and represents the district, and he is highly engaged and wants to know how this impacts the district. And we've been in touch with Mel to get some information back from her specifically for him. So we know that we have a great advocate for us on the Joint Budget Committee. And then if we move on to bills, it has been a relatively quiet year when it comes to legislation and education, purely because there isn't money. So there are bills that are out there, but because they have fiscal notes, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to pass. And on bills that shift the burden from the state to school districts, those too are going to have a hard time passing. The legislature is very sensitive that just passing the burden on to districts exacerbates the problems that we already have. So I think we're in a good position when it comes to bills that are burdensome to the district. Are there any specific questions on bills that you've heard about? Okay. If you remember, you have the bill link. I emailed it out at the beginning of session. That link to the chart is dynamic. It updates every single day. Anytime new bills go on, anytime new bills are introduced for education, we put them on that tracker. If you need me to resend it, just shoot me an email and I will resend it out. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Amy. Any other questions for her?
No, I know some of these bills just got introduced, and so I don't have any questions yet because I'm trying to see how either as some of these go to committee or as some of them will get amended. I'll shoot you questions, Amy, when and if I do have any. And then as we're just going through the legislative season, we'll likely have you back on again next month. And probably have more questions for you because I know a few were just introduced over the last few weeks. So,
And may I add something to that? There
Yes, please.
are a handful of bills that do dip into local control and eroding local control, and they are specific where they say that the district has to have a policy, but it doesn't dictate what has to be in the policy. And so when you see bills that look like that those bills have been heavily negotiated so that the district still is being told it has to have a policy, and D51 likely has these policies anyways, but at least it doesn't say what the policy has to say. And so just keep an eye out for those on the bill tracker as well.
And thanks for mentioning Rep. Taggart being engaged. I agree. I know he's engaged with board members. He's engaged with Mel as well. So it is good to have him representing us. So, but again, folks need to pay attention to what's going on with the budget at the state level because we've come out of a couple of years of being able to be in positions where we can make some decisions around prioritizing things like salary increases because we've been lagging behind for so long. But this year is going to be pretty messy for most school districts across the state. And so the more we can advocate for that, I think the better. And again, our best scenario as a district is for them to stick with 1448 the way they said they were going to do it.
And we won't know numbers really before April 15th. April 10th is probably when is the earliest that we'll really know numbers. And that's once the budget passes. So as you're going through your negotiations, it'll be after that date. And this is the kind of year where school finance could run into the very last week of session, which ends about May 8th.
Awesome. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I know at the CASB meetings that I've been at, just about every district across the state is really not happy with the state right now. So everyone's going to have to try to figure out their budgets this year with, they do feel like it was a bait and switch with 1448 last year and then what the proposed budget is this year, so. All right, ready to move for audience comments or public comments, so. All right, so next up is audience comments. So you'll come and sit in the middle chair here. There's a microphone. Director Jones will set the timer. You have 3 minutes. At 30 seconds, you'll hear a tone, which will just kind of give you an idea that you have about 30 seconds to wrap up. And then at the 3-minute mark, you'll hear a longer tone, and then Director Jones will just remind you that your time is up. And we just do that for everybody. We cut you off just so everybody has the same amount of time to speak. If by chance you are not finished with your comment at 3 minutes, you are welcome to email the board. Obviously, the remainder of your thoughts. We always like to hear everything. There is the light box over, no, it's right there. Yeah, so one of these is normally over there.
So we need to put it over there.
Okay. Okay, well, no, normally the timer is over on their desk, so they can see the countdown. Well, okay, it's fine. Okay, so there's a timer here that does count down to show you the time that's left. I'm sorry, can that get moved? All right, sorry, it's not going to be an easy move. So Director Jones will call who is up and then also who is on deck, just so that you know that you're next. And I think that's it. And then we'll have our policy for public comments up on the board as well, so.
Alrighty, so understandably, first up we have Jan Mormon, but we have students in the building, so I'm gonna bring the students up first, and then Jan, we'll get to you. So first up in our student section is gonna be Ms. Colleen Moore, and on deck is going to be Serena, I can't read your last name, so I apologize, but you're on deck.
Hello, my name is Colleen Moore, and I'm a current senior at Fruita Monument. To start off, I want to talk about the paradox of tolerance. The paradox of tolerance is a philosophical concept in which a truly tolerant society must retain the right to deny tolerance to those who promote intolerance. According to this paradox, if intolerant ideologies are allowed unchecked expression, they could exploit values to erode or destroy tolerance itself through oppressive practices. As a result of the political environment in our country right now, I've observed an increase of hate speech in my school. I've seen swastikas being drawn on whiteboards and students expressing how happy they are to have their fellow students and classmates be deported. The students who are pushing this rhetoric seem to be completely unaware that the mass deportations are affecting people they sit next to in class. Why is this not a punishable or addressable offense in our schools? Why hasn't this body come out to say anything? Schools should be a welcoming environment. When you sent out a statement about what to do if ICE came to our school, why did you have to add that you weren't choosing a political side? This shouldn't be a political matter. Schools are supposed to be safe and inclusive, and if there is national policy trying to challenge this, Why can't you make a statement about it? Schools shouldn't become political targets for saying that they are welcoming and accepting of all, and the fact that they are becoming targets for this is concerning to me and many others. Many students across this district are scared to come to school because of ICE. Adding to this, because of the rhetoric being used and unpunished by students, some feel like they do not belong in our schools, even though I know the district prioritizes belonging due to the surveys we take in advisory. When you say that you are not going to take a political side, it instills fear in many students and families. Saying that you're not going to take a political stance on policies directly affecting the safety and feelings of your students is concerning. When people in power do not speak out against injustice, it sets an example that intolerance will be tolerated within the school system and hateful rhetoric will not be addressed. Allowing this rhetoric to circulate around our schools unchecked will severely hurt academic environments. I've already seen this occur when students will hear concepts in history classes, such as Black history, the 14th Amendment, or LGBTQ rights. Instead of learning the history behind the debates, some students just refuse to listen and go report their teacher. While the topic may be controversial to some, our teachers are not pushing their own personal opinions into the curriculum, but encouraging students to have their own thoughts about the subjects. Being tolerant to this avoidant behavior in the classroom and hate speech is not an education. The intolerant is being tolerated, and intellectualism is not a value held in the classroom anymore. Allowing the intolerant to be tolerated will push anti-intellectualism in our school environment. I implore you all to think about where your priorities lie. As educators and administrators, your beliefs should lie with the physical and emotional safety of D51 students and nowhere else. I request that when putting out statements, remember that it isn't about pushing a certain ideology or agenda, but about supporting all students. Thank you.
Okay, up now we have Miss Serena, and on deck we have something Robinson.
Members of the board, my name is Serena Offset and I'm currently a senior at Freedom Monument High School. I'm here today as a student concerned not just for my own education, but for the education of every student who walks through our school doors. Education is meant to prepare us for the real world, to teach us history, critical thinking, and the ability to engage in meaningful discussions even when we disagree. But today, that fundamental purpose is under threat. Teachers are afraid to teach. They are afraid to discuss history, literature, and current events, subjects that are essential because they fear backlash, complaints, and even the loss of their jobs. Students are losing the opportunity to learn about the world around them. Conversations about race, LGBTQ+ issues, immigration, the Constitution, and historical truths are being silenced, not because they are inappropriate, but because they make some people uncomfortable. I have watched as teachers hesitate before discussing historical events, not because the facts are in dispute, but because acknowledging them might offend someone. I have seen teachers try to engage us in discussions about the Constitution, about the very laws that shape our rights, only to be silenced because the topic has become too political. I've seen my classmates dismiss entire communities as if their existence is up for debate, and I've watched them resort to slurs and hate instead of discussion, because no one ever taught them how to disagree with respect. We cannot allow our teachers to be punished for doing their jobs, and we certainly cannot send students into the world unprepared to engage with real issues because we were too afraid to teach them. We are raising a generation that cannot handle difficult conversations, and that should terrify every single person in this room. Discomfort is not a reason to erase education. It is a reason to lean into it. School should be a place where students are challenged, where they learn to engage with differing perspectives, and where they develop the skills to have civil, informed discussions. Children as young as the ones in our elementary schools are being taught that it is okay to respond to disagreement with hate and blatant disrespect, and that is unacceptable. The role of a school is to make students think. It is to prepare them for a world that is complex, diverse, and often challenging. If a student can sit through a math class and struggle through an equation they don't understand, they can sit through a history lesson that challenges their perspective. If they can learn how to analyze a poem they are uncomfortable with, then they can learn how to analyze the world around them. And if they can memorize the Pledge of Allegiance, then they should also be taught what that pledge truly means, the promise of liberty and justice for all. If a parent does not want their child to participate in a particular lesson, they have that right, but that should not mean that the entire classroom is denied the opportunity to learn. We cannot allow the fear of controversy to dictate what is taught. I urge this board to take a stand and protect educators. Make it clear that teachers have the right and the responsibility to teach history, literature, and current events without fear. Ensure that students are exposed to a broad education that challenges them to think critically, and most importantly, foster an environment where civil discourse is encouraged, not suppressed. This is not about politics. This is about education. If we fail to protect our teachers, we fail to protect our students. And if we fail to educate our students, we fail our future. Thank you.
Alrighty. Up next we have, is it Sagan? Yes. Sagan Robinson, and on deck, Sarah Bruffelli.
Good evening. My name is Sagan Robinson, and I'm a current senior at Fruita Monument High School. Current events have made it hard to uphold my faith in the quality of our historical education. There has been a movement to make American history appear more in a flattering light, a light that ignores the flaws of our history, a light that aims to simmer the depth of our history. The definition of history is the whole series of past events connected with someone or something. Discussion of all viewpoints of history is critical to the development of this country, and our education on history is under threat. It was the Spanish-American philosopher and essayist George Santayana that said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." The movement to rewrite American history, to highlight our victories, and to diminish the flaws of our past. History is not intended to celebrate one's victories or to only portray one's flaws. History is meant to be a whole series of past events, victories and flaws. No matter how we feel about them, we must not forget about them, lest we be condemned to repeat them again. American history, like all history, is flawed. We are not perfect beings. We do not live life without making mistakes. No one is free of the clause of imperfection. To believe you are is to show how far you still have to travel on the path to maturity. Our history follows this philosophy to its roots. For every one of our supposed victories had to have followed a mountain of mistakes, wrong turns, and blunders. One of the most famous examples is the abolishment of slavery in the United States. On December 6, 1865, the 13th Amendment was passed, effectively abolishing slavery from the United States. This current movement would propose that we celebrate only this accomplishment of the U.S. and to suppress and ignore the 2 centuries worth of slavery that came before in the United States. Let me ask you this. Why try and only shine up the victory of something that had so much pain and suffering behind it, caused by the same people who abolished it? And focusing on only this victory of the American people also ignores the history that follows, the Jim Crow laws and the Black Codes that didn't come to an end until 100 years later with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. History will forever be a whole series of events. It will never just be the victories or the mistakes. It must be both. One must never outshine the other. And that is true history. That it is a sad retelling of our stories to make ourselves feel better about the sins of our past when we do not acknowledge the full history. And this movement calls for that sad retelling. It is critical for us to accept our past mistakes and to be knowledgeable of them, lest once again we be condemned to repeat them. Teachers I have asked have not been excited to teach history this coming year, with this furthering to rewrite the history. You are hurting our teachers along with our students when this movement is allowed to prosper. So I urge you to not condemn this youth to make the mistakes of our past, to teach all of history, victories and flaws, not one or the other.
Alrighty, up next we have Sarah Bruffelli, and on deck, Ben Himes.
Good evening, board members. My name is Sarah Bratley, and I'm a senior at Fruita Monument High School. I'm prompted to speak tonight because of teachers in this district expressing concerns regarding discussion of current events revolving around executive orders, immigration, and social issues. Teachers shouldn't be afraid to facilitate these discussions. To begin, I wanted to discuss the concept of symbolic annihilation, which is defined as the way that cultural production and media representations ignore, exclude, and marginalize a particular group. With recent conversations surrounding the voiding of research papers that mention sexuality, gender, or race, I personally worry about my own education and the education of my peers as the sheer mention of these subjects in school curriculum is deemed controversial, taboo, or political. Others and I find this worrisome as exposure to a current event at school can be labeled as indoctrination or as a biased sharing of opinion even when no opinion is given. School is a place to learn, communicate, and discuss. When students can't simply be exposed to worldly events and cultural communities without immediate reactionary relash, the state of our role in education as a district needs to be evaluated. I don't believe it is in our best interest to erase important histories from the classroom. Pretending that an identity doesn't exist and failing to recognize groups of people doesn't erase them from our communities. As a district, we should ensure that all students, no matter their identity, feel seen, included, and safe in a school environment.
While I know these issues don't sprout directly from our district, I wanted to spread a reminder that school is a place to learn and to engage with people from different backgrounds. Intellectual and cultural competence is a critical part of learning, and it creates an open-minded environment. School is a playground for the rest of our lives. If we diminish discussion revolving around current events and identities, the mission of education will not fulfill its purpose as effectively as it could. Civil discourse is crucial for a sturdy, functional democracy that is capable of upholding rules of the Constitution and holding leaders accountable when necessary. If young people don't get to have these conversations in school throughout their most formative years, they can grow up to be rigid, complacent, and can impede progress. If civil discourse is practiced more in schools, it will foster the ability to think critically, formulate opinions, and understand differing perspectives. This leads to innovation, overall advancement, and the ability to move forward together. I ask the school board to support our teachers' ability to openly discuss current events without fear of retribution. Thank you.
Already on deck is up now is Ben Himes, and on deck is Jan Mormon.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Benjamin Himes, and I'm a senior at Grand Junction High School. Only got 3 more months left, something to celebrate about. It was in the very district of which your obligations have been vowed, where core values of gratitude, kindness, and most importantly, empathy were persistently instilled into my character. I request that in years moving forward, you exercise your ability to protect these values and do not forget of a nation that you once sought to raise. Within the first week of the recent presidency, more than 7,000 immigrants were deported, a proportion of children being amongst that. While I express my appreciation for the recent email that you sent out regarding immigration in schools moving forward, one detail has left me in distress. Amidst this email, you express the importance of your political neutrality during the oncoming situations. It is now that I ask you the question, when was the protection of children in education systems ever political? If anybody believes that 5-year-old children should feel the pressure of their nationality in the presence of a classroom, I advise you to consider the possibility that children who are still learning their ABCs are now a potential threat of being removed from classrooms and sent to countries overrun with drugs and cartel. I beg of you that you recall your purpose in the education system and do not take a stance of neutrality when the protection of children is on the line. This problem spans further than immigration. The removal of diversity and equity inclusion from several district positions as well as government institutions poses a severe threat to the upbringing of the next generations. It is a non-negotiable that we as American citizens recognize the wrongs that our country has done and that the soil we stand on is bloodstained. This does not negate us from being a great country, but if we as Americans lose sight of the atrocities that we committed to get to this state, what is it worth? Diversity and equity inclusion was not created as a way to put down those who it does not affect, but rather to unite Americans under a shared goal of understanding and repenting from our thieving past. I myself was once a critic of the idea of equity, but in recent times have come to realize that solutions inapplicable to myself do not raise issues, but rather present opportunities to those less fortunate, those in need of solutions. There should be no room for discussion that the fair treatment of children in a classroom is not only a requirement, but should also be implicit across every aspect of life. I myself has been lucky enough to have been in the presence of most of you members of the board, and with that being said, it is not with attrition or anger that I come to you, but rather of concern. And I assure you that in times moving forward, I will use my voice to speak for those who are too fearful to use their own. Thank you.
Alrighty, up next we have Jan Mormon, and on deck, Tom Aker.
Hello, board. Can you hear me? I am Jan Mormon, speaking on behalf of the League of Women Voters in Mesa County. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization, meaning we do not support or oppose any political parties or candidates. The League does take action on issues which it has studied and on which it has a position. In taking action, the League in Colorado often joins with organizations, for example, La Familia Vota, the NAACP, and the ACLU. Tonight, I'm speaking out as a beginning of looking into the board's and D51's policies regarding immigration status. And for that, the League is trying to be an advocate for the immigrant population, the Latino population, and to be able to speak when others may not feel comfortable speaking or be prepared. So this may not be the last time that I speak to you. One of the things that I discovered in starting to look into this is a document, a letter that was reported to be sent to all the superintendents in Colorado on January 31st of this year. I'll be glad to send you a link to it. I'll leave this copy with you. The ACLU is basically specifying some recommendations of what schools should do to protect their population, to make it be, as D51 says in their guidance to staff, that you want this D51 to be a place where students, staff, and families feel safe and welcomed and supported. And so in that spirit of working with you and providing you materials, we are going to look through what the ACLU has recommended and work to try to find the different procedures and things that D51 has in place to let the community know and to point out suggestions where perhaps clarity can be added. So one of those pieces of action that I'd like to speak about tonight does come from my review of the D51 guidance that was given to staff that someone shared with the league. In that guidance, there's mentions of warrants and subpoenas, and I'd like to just recommend that in any conversations that you have, that you make sure you use the adjective of judicial. And with that, I also have a very useful brochure here that was written this month that shows the difference between judicial and immigrant. And so I leave that with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Up now, we have Tom Aker, and on deck, Dan Worth.
Thank you, Board, President Hates, and Superintendent Hill, and the board members. I come now to convey the concern on the part of the community regarding the revocation of the sensitive locations policy by the new administration and how it negatively impacts our families here in the District 51. It is essential that the school district not allow new policy to infringe on the constitutional rights of immigrant children, and that the district administration not ignore your responsibilities to your students, nor the district's rights to decide who enters its properties. The district, like all residents of the U.S., is protected by the U.S. Constitution. Therefore, the administrative warrants that are frequently used by ICE should not give ICE agents authority to enter areas of school district and properties that are not otherwise open to the public. To enter those places that have an understood level of privacy, just like for an individual in her home, ICE would need the school's consent, which the school is free to refuse, absent a judicial warrant. Steps must be taken to in anticipation of ICE or other immigration enforcement authorities seeking access to school spaces, for the schools to demarcate the public and non-public areas in the schools and make clear that what hours those spaces are available or not to the public by posting signage throughout the school property. Federal and Colorado state laws prohibit discrimination on the basis of natural origin. Following the legal guidance allowing ICE agents on school property is harassment and discrimination based on national origin because it represents a threat only to the immigrant student and their families that have a legal right to be provided a public education. The school district must designate a trained contact person in each building, like the principal, to whom the ICE agent would be directed before any consent is given for them to enter. A school attorney should review the immigration enforcement officials' requests and hold them to the limits of dates, place, and people on the judicial warrant. Directory information release for immigration enforcement could violate law. SROs must be trained on and comply with civil rights laws. I present these concerns because of the ambiguous message that the school district has published up until now and request that you make greater efforts to protect the students and families in their constitutional rights from illegal acts under the guise of presidential edict. Your roles and responsibilities of protecting the students under your care do not end with the arrival of this new administration. Thank you very much.
Alrighty, up now we have Dan Worth, and on deck, Jolie Hendricks.
I am here as one of the displaced educators impacted by the district's hiring plan for all displaced staff. I want to share my concerns not only as a teacher and representatives of all displaced staff, but for all whose livelihoods are at stake. When East Middle School and Fruta 8-9 were closed, teachers were guaranteed an interview for any position for which they were qualified for and applied for. This is in compliance with Senate Bill 191, and which is mirrored in our negotiated agreement, Section 11.7. Shortly after being notified that our schools were going to be closed, HR notified us via principals that there were going to be no guaranteed interviews. This sent shockwaves of anxiety through staff. Section 11.7 in Senate Bill 191 specifically addresses displaced teachers and clearly states that non-probationary teachers in the priority hiring pool are entitled to first opportunity to interview for any and all positions for which they are qualified. But the district's plan does not guarantee this. Starting in December and into January, I inquired about how the district was going to handle teachers in the priority hiring pool and their right to their first opportunity to interview. I was told the decision was coming. Finally, last Friday on February 14th, the district put their plan in writing for the very first time over 2.5 months after school closures were decided, and just 3 days before job openings were posted, which is today. The district's plan misinterprets and effectively limits the rights of teachers in two ways. One, limiting the guarantee to an interview for certain positions at certain schools. This is not any or all. And number two, misinterpreting first opportunity to interview, potentially resulting in other candidates being interviewed before those in the priority hiring pool, a clear violation of state law. Our legislators value experienced teachers and want to guarantee that if teachers are displaced, they have first shot at interviews before anyone else that is not displaced. Our legislators value experienced teachers. Does our district? In the spirit of empathy, why would our district not guarantee non-probationary teachers interviews even if there were no laws such requiring this priority? The district's current plan is not only violates state law, but leaves us at a disadvantage with no clear commitment to the interviews we are owed, leaving us in limbo about our futures. Careers and financial security are on the line. Additionally, the district has no plan to replace the dozens of probationary educators who do not qualify for the priority hiring pool. In the spirit of empathy, I would argue that they should get the next priority to any interview. I urge the board to take immediate action and to make sure the process is fair and transparent and in compliance with both the master agreement and the law. Thank you.
All right, up now we have Jolie Hendricks, and on deck, Kelly McKay.
My name is Jolie Hendricks. I'm a counselor at Clifton Elementary, also going to be displaced. I second what Dan has to say as a person who's limited options as a counselor. There's one opening today, and it's on the west end of town. So apparently, according to HR, I am not qualified for hiring in that position. I am here to tell you what the law is in regard to our MVA agreement and TECTA, which is the Teacher Evaluation, Compensation, and Discipline Act. So this is the law. According to MVA contract language, Section 11.7 for displacement, the reassignment of teachers who are displaced teachers shall be accomplished in accordance with this subsection. Voluntary and involuntary transfers of teachers that do not result from displacement shall be governed by subsections 11.3 and 11.4 respectively. 11.7.1, the following definition shall apply to this section. Displaced teacher means any non-probationary teacher whose services the district has determined are no longer required on account of a drop of enrollment, turnaround, phase out, reduction in program, or reduction in building, including closure, consolidation, or reconstitution, and who has been removed from the teacher's assigned school in connection with such determination by written notice of displacement by the superintendent, to the teacher pursuant to subsection 11.7.32. Hiring cycle means the period of time during which the board reviews the staffing needs of the district and acts to fill vacant positions. The board engages in 2 hiring cycles each calendar year. First, when the board projects and fills staffing needs for the next school year, between approximately March and the day before the first student contact day of the next school year. And second, as the board reviews its current staffing and makes adjustments as necessary during the current school year, from the first student contact day through the last student contact day of the current school year. Priority hiring pool means a subgroup of displaced teachers who are actively employed and deemed satisfactory or effective in their performance evaluation preceding their displacement and who have not secured a new assignment pursuant to section 11.1 above. Mutual consent placement means the selection of displaced teacher for a teaching position pursuant to the requirements. TECTA, any active non-probationary teacher who is deemed effective during the prior school year and has not secured a mutual consent placement shall be a member of the priority hiring pool, which priority hiring shall ensure the non-probationary teacher at first opportunity to interview for a reasonable number of available positions for which they are qualified in the school district. The negotiated agreement makes it clear that all effective displaced teachers are in a priority hiring pool and are guaranteed the first opportunity to interview for available positions. TECTA is effectively mirrored in the MVEA contract. If you have questions, this information is provided after consultation with our CEA legal team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hendricks. Alrighty, up now we have Ms. Kelly McKay, and on deck, Justin Rash.
Hi. I am here to read an anonymous letter from an experienced displaced teacher. I have been a teacher at my school for over 20 years. I have devoted 25 years of my teaching career to District 51. I am not feeling valued or appreciated as I am tasked with trying to find a teaching position in another school. Upper administration is assuring us that there will be enough positions for everyone who has been displaced this year, but I am hearing of very few positions that will be open. The receiving schools that our school's population are slated to go to have very few teaching positions confirmed. The retirement incentive was not nearly enough to encourage any of us to leave our profession. To say that many of us feel that getting a placement for next year is hopeless is an understatement. To hear that the district's interpretation of priority is allowing us to choose a potential interview time 24 hours ahead of the other applicants is not showing us real priority. Staffing has been undecided for many schools the past several years, even until after school has started. The possibility of not knowing whether or not I have a classroom until August is demoralizing. I encourage you to determine where more classrooms will be needed long before that. Maybe this is a time to relax the butts in seats policy that we keep hearing about. We have lost our much-loved community school and classrooms already. Keeping us in limbo will not serve us or our future schools well. As veteran teachers, we have a lot to offer receiving schools. Utilizing our schools as permanent substitutes is insulting. Mutual consent does not always mean that teachers accept jobs that reflect our expertise. There is a sense of desperation to accept any position just to ensure we have a job. This is taking a significant toll on our mental health as we live with this uncertainty. Treating long-standing employees like this is just wrong. We are also concerned with having to be completely out of our building by May 22nd. Not only do we have to pack up our own belongings, but we also are required to pack up district curriculum. Our school is currently cleaning out to meet this deadline. It is not conducive to a positive learning environment for our students or staff morale. Should we be lucky enough to know our placement for next year, storage of our belongings over the summer will be an issue. We are more than just FTEs. I beg you to do your own thinking and investigating on these matters. Please don't just listen to the administration's platitudes and empty promises. I, among many other teachers, do not feel that the administration has been honest with us. It really feels like they have not thought this through completely, and we and our students are paying the price for it.
Alrighty, up now is Justin Rash, and on deck, Ms. B. Sullivan.
All right. Good evening. My name is Justin Rash. My wife and I are both teachers here in the district. Unfortunately, my wife is at a school that will be closing Over the last couple of months, I've watched her live with the reality that her job will simply cease at the end of the year. She has not been herself since closures were announced. There are moments of distraction, but it is always there. The knowledge that her future will be drastically different, the knowledge that there will be fewer job openings than teachers looking for jobs, and the knowledge that she will have to compete against her friends and coworkers to secure a job never really goes away. It weighs on her every minute of every day. I am confident she is not the only teacher living with these feelings. That is why I'm here this evening. I'm speaking up tonight on behalf of my wife, on behalf of all teachers at closing schools, and on behalf of all teachers in School District 51. My wife and her coworkers, along with all teachers at closing schools, are currently living with the reality that it is very likely they will no longer have permanent employment at the end of the school year. These teachers, through no fault of their own, have had their jobs taken from them, and there's absolutely no guarantee that they will get new jobs. Yes, these teachers are promised some form of employment for 1 year, but after that, they are potentially and quite likely on their own. I'm here tonight because I don't understand the lack of concern, empathy, and loyalty that both district administration and the school board have shown for teachers, students, and families. While I am concerned about students and families tonight, I'm mostly concerned about teachers. I take comfort in knowing that students and families are guaranteed acceptance into new schools. Unfortunately, however, my fellow teachers do not enjoy the same guarantee. I do not understand why there is not more being done to ensure displaced teachers are not negatively and unfairly impacted by closures any more than they already have been. The fact that schools can even consider hiring anybody other than displaced teachers sends a strong message about how district administration and the school board feel about the value of teachers. The message to displaced teachers, and really to every teacher in the district, is very clear. Whether it is intentional or not, the message is you are expendable. Regardless of your performance, your job can disappear at any moment. There is no job security. You are expendable. As a teacher in D51, as a parent of children in D51, and as a spouse of an excellent teacher with an uncertain future, this is the message I hear loudly and clearly. I don't get it. You have teachers with proven track records. If it's important to hire and keep high-quality educators, why look anywhere else? Why not do everything possible to take care of teachers losing their jobs? I ask that you think about and reconsider your approach to rehiring the teachers who are losing their jobs only because they've dedicated themselves to schools that are closing. It is an injustice to interview or hire any other candidates while there are displaced teachers looking for jobs. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Already up now, we have Ms. B. Sullivan, and on deck, Tracy Cermak.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for allowing us to come and visit with you and share our concerns. And from my own perspective, I'm very extraordinarily proud of the high school students for having a voice, and that we have raised in our school district such amazing people that were willing to speak up and write such beautiful things. I am also speaking on behalf of an anonymous displaced experienced teacher. I have proudly served kids and families in D51 for over 2 decades. That means I've devoted blood, sweat, tears, time, and my own money to meet the needs of my students. By now, I have worked with an average of 500 kids. 500. I have worked tirelessly through multiple curriculum adoptions, district mandates, and data-driven protocols, and I've made it all work for my students and families and gotten results for D51. What thanks do I get? I get a guaranteed placement as a floating substitute, as a consolidation prize for being at a school that was chosen to close. Is this really how the school district attracts and retains quality teachers? By law, I am in a priority hiring pool because I am being displaced through no fault of my own. The guarantee of being granted an interview at only the receiving schools does nothing for me. Neither one of my receiving schools has an opening at my grade level. So now what? I am left hoping. I am lucky enough to be granted an interview at other schools. To be told the priority I am given is to choose the time I'd like to be seen for an interview, if I even get granted an interview, is insulting and degrading. I am left feeling like a meaningless cog on a wheel for a district I have given everything to for 20 years. To make matters worse, I am a product of D51 as well. Is this how you would treat today's students headed out into the workforce? Displaced teachers should be interviewed and placed before other teachers are considered, and the district should be doing everything in its power to promote and support the 70-plus educators who are out of a job. Do better, D51. The teachers who actually work in the trenches, meeting the needs of kids, deserve more than you are giving. And on behalf of myself, I'd like to share, I am a CEA board director, and I do sit with CEA board about every month and a half, and I appreciate that you had a legislator come and visit. I am updated regularly regarding what the laws are and the support that our people, educators, are wanting and hoping from our legislators, because public schools do matter. And I will also share both of my daughters came through all of our schools. And I'm very, very proud. I have one who is a doctor, and I have one who has her master's degree from very nice schools. We give a beautiful education. Please, please keep those people in those positions.
Alrighty, up now we have Miss Tracy Cermak, and on deck we have Stanley Magnuson.
Hello, esteemed board members, Dr. Hill, and others present and online. I thank you for your time tonight and for listening to what I have to say. I'm sure that each of you, as do I, sincerely wants any displaced teacher to be treated with dignity and respect. Given this common interest, I believe that following the state law and our negotiated agreement, which guarantees interviews for displaced teachers in a priority hiring pool, is the best pathway to honor and maintain the dignity of each of these phenomenal educators that have been put in the situation of their school closing. To allow them to have priority of scheduling an interview 24 hours before others get to schedule their interview is counter to what has been said multiple times at board meetings. According to what has recently been stated as the protocol D51 will use for priority hiring pool, there's no guarantee that they're going to receive an interview. Not only is this unprecedented, but it's also disrespectful to the years of service and dedication that each of these educators have given to this district and our students. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Stanley Magnuson, homeowner in the CMU area.
All right, so up now we have Stanley Magnuson, and on deck we have Miss Amanda Akers. You're good, buddy.
Okay, yeah. Stanley Magnuson, homeowner in the CMU area, 70% disabled veteran, former first responder. I feel for you displaced teachers. I'm just trying to get on as a substitute teacher. It's interesting to mention the mention of Jim Crow in the students' speeches, because I feel like I'm having a Jim Crow attitude towards me by Nikki Jost and Mary Gorsuch. Now, if you try to get a hold of Nikki, the email's not going to get there. I mean, it's just, and then Mary Gorsuch talks about you have to have these references that come in electronically, and for some reason I don't think they really come in. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be doing it. And even that, she said, well, even if you had them, you're not going to be teaching here anyway, kind of a smiley type of way, like I've already been judged for, well, I don't know why. Okay, I know that they do run tremendously short of substitutes on Fridays, and Grand Junction High School is always running short of subs, yet they still say, we have all we need. It's like a Illuminati of teachers that they have that somehow just is innovative. You can't really get there type of thing, just normal human beings. Okay, I have I'm qualifiable for a 5-year authorization. I'm a totally certified English teacher in Colorado, and then certification in a lot of other states, and hundreds of days in very inner city, big school districts, yet for some reason Grand Junction doesn't seem to want to give me a chance. I've been studying regarding Lopez versus Gross, the 1975 Supreme Court case, which says that upheld that every citizen has the 5th and 14th Amendment rights, the right to due process. Now, can't Nikki Jost or Mary Gorsuch at least give a periodic review? Maybe I'm not the person I was 8 years ago or 6 years ago or how many years it's been. Doesn't the freedom of information let me know that I can to see what is causing me to be Jim Crow pretty much by these human resources people. It's interesting, at a job fair some time ago, a teacher job fair, I went over to talk to the Grand Junction representatives. They went up and ran away type of thing. And I guess I should have chased it after them or whatever. But this type of mentality and principles, no one helps me. It just seems like Strother Martin said in Kohan Luke, we have here a failure to communicate. Thank you for your time.
Alrighty, up now we have Miss Amanda Akers, and then on deck, Bert Nieslik.
Hi, Board. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Amanda Akers, and I'm a concerned citizen here to talk to you about the access by ICE to sensitive areas and letting them in the school. Specifically, I'm here speaking on behalf of the 3 careers that I have done. I have worked a little bit in public policy, specifically education policy and education as a bilingual teacher for over 10 years, and now work in clinical mental health. I don't think I need to tell you the importance of thinking like an educator and the danger of letting immigration officials into schools, because kids need to be in school to learn. And if parents are afraid to send their kids to school, then their kids aren't there, so they can't learn, and educators are very aware of that. I did want to speak a little bit as a bilingual educator. Children who are in the bilingual program often they have advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantages, as we know from research, is that they have expanded neural pathways and increased curiosity, increased creativity. But one of the disadvantages that they often face is, along with all of the other things they're learning, they're also having to learn a language. And in order to have educational success, they need to be in school to do that. As somebody who is working in clinical mental health, as a counselor, all of the things that I knew as an educator are just reinforced. Whenever my kids were in school and they were having a hard time learning, I knew that something was wrong at home. Now I know from my work in clinical mental health that it's not because that they have low willpower, that they lack attention, or that they're lazy or something. It's their brain's way of protecting them and sending their energy to what's most important, and that's keeping them safe and their loved ones safe. If kids are afraid that their parents won't be able to pick them up, or that something will happen to them during the day, they won't be able to pay attention to the lesson in the classroom. And finally, as somebody who works in policy, I understand the policy and political predicament that y'all are in, listening to all of the things that we've heard today, especially worrying about how many kids are in the classroom and knowing that funding goes with each kid. I understand that we need to keep all of those kids in the classroom. And if parents are afraid to send their kids to school for whatever reason, I was really disheartened to hear what the students were saying about that there are other students that were discriminating against these kids. If parents don't send their kids to school, kids don't learn, and we don't get the money that each one of our kids. I also urge you to please communicate with your students, with their families better, because the teachers who are doing the work to protect these kids need to know that you have their back, and parents need more than just a vague assurance that everything's going to be okay. They need to know exactly what's going to go on so they can make decisions for their family. Thank you.
Alrighty, up now we have Bert Nislanik, and on deck, Imelda Mulholland.
Good evening. My name is Bert Nislanik. I'm a retired criminal defense lawyer, which I did for 40 years. 17 of those, I was the deputy director of a state agency called Alternate Defense Counsel. You probably never heard of it. But if you were in trouble and you robbed a bank with another person and they got the public defender, you would hear about it because we would provide you with a lawyer. In that job, I did policy. So I was a policy wonk for 17 years. And I came to tell you this. When you make a policy, it's easier to see the effect of that policy than it is to see the effect when you don't make a policy. And I've come with a very clear example. For the last 2 years, I've been the legal counsel for the Grand Valley Resettlement Project, which really are the 12 Afghan families that have been here for 2 years. I have been with them through suspensions. I've been with them through expulsions. I've been with them through a civil rights complaint. And so we probably know each other, sort of. But I have had to advise all of them, and I have yet to speak to every single one, that they need to take their children's documentation, they need to take a copy of it, they need to reduce it, and they need to put it in the pocket of every single child they have that goes to School District 51, because you don't have a policy that protects those kids. If those kids get separated for whatever reason from their adults or from their families, they'll need to know how to get back to them. And so their green cards, their status cards, whatever kind of cards they have to be reduced and in their pocket until you make a policy that protects them. And I encourage you to do that.
Alrighty, up now we have Imelda Mulholland, and on deck, Miss Shelley Medrano.
Good evening. Thank you for having us all here. I also want to talk about the sensitive locations policy, and whether the sensitive locations policy is in effect or not, it does not change the fact that your duty, pursuant to policy, law, and even the District 51's mission statement, requires that you exercise your fiduciary duty to ensure that all children have a safe place to learn. The Code of Ethics for the school board member states that your first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of the students attending school. Your lack of leadership and your failure to provide a directive to each school on how to address attempted immigration enforcement operations has created a moral crisis in the schools and the community and violates your fiduciary duty to your students, the district, and community you serve. I'm sure that you understand that your fiduciary duty is not pliable or open to interpretation. The board is acting as if it has a choice to protect some but not all students, but it is very clear that you do not have that choice. You must protect all students and provide a safe place for each child to learn. I ask that you issue a directive to each school to provide guidance on how to address attempted immigration enforcement operations that complies with the applicable governing law. That must include language distinguishing judicial and administrative warrant enforcement. Thank you very much for your time and your service.
Alrighty, up now we have Shelley Medrano, and lastly, Lacey Lowry.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to speak in front of you. My name is Shelley Medrano. I am bilingual. I am a half-time CLD teacher and a half-time mod needs teacher at one of the closing schools here in the district. I come to you, first of all, I want to say, students, thank you so much for speaking on behalf of students in your schools who need that voice. They're afraid to speak, and I know that they are. We have families and students at our school who are afraid to speak, they're afraid to talk, they're afraid to come to school. And it is very disheartening when I have a second grader come and ask me, why is it that Americans don't like Mexicans anymore? And he's crying. I have other students who come to me and ask, you know, what's going to happen if my mom can't come and pick me up? How am I supposed to answer that? How am I supposed to answer that? However, I come to you also with a personal concern. My personal concern is, like I said, I'm a displaced teacher from one of the schools. During a meeting with HR recently regarding the school closure, I asked about my probationary status. I'm a veteran teacher. I've been my 16th year teaching. I taught in another school district. I'm from Denver. This is my home school. This is where I grew up from. This is where I grew up. I came through D51 schools. I have 2 children, both at Grand Junction High School, both straight A students, and they're coming through the D51 schools as well. I chose to relocate them here when I became a single parent because I trusted the schools, I trust the community. I'm 3rd generation in this community. I did ask why I was considered probationary because D51 accepted my years of experience as far as my pay went. A lead HR representative asked if I had applied for portability, a term not myself nor any of the people around me had ever heard of. A couple of weeks later, I met with Carter Ness. I asked him where his portability option was documented because I'd never even heard of it. And he said it's somewhere in the Board of Directors handbook. I questioned the practicality of expecting a new hire to first know about portability, and second, to consult this document during onboarding. It's very overwhelming when you're a new teacher to a new district. Carter stated that I should be encouraged to know, though, however, that beginning with the 25-26 school year, that this information will be included in the new hire packet. I did try to locate this document. I had to go through lots of different clicks on the website. I finally had to just search portability, and I finally came up with something. The lack of transparency that happened with me is disheartening, and I beg the board to please do the ethical thing, and all of us who have are seasoned teachers, but are considered because of this, we still get a chance. Thank you.
And our final one for the evening is Miss Lacey Lowry.
Good evening. I didn't prepare anything because I'm a chicken and talked myself out of speaking probably 30 times alone in this room. But I'm a concerned parent, and I wanted to bring some light to the communication and policy issues that we have going on in the high schools. I have a daughter who is part of the 32 kids that had a day and a half's notice of being kicked out of Junction High School after first semester. They were there on school of choice. They had low grades. 32 of them had a day and a half's notice that they were no longer welcome there. After going to Palisade to enroll, they had not posted any grades, any classes, any information at all. And Palisade had been told that we were all informed. We were not. I've been in contact with all of those parents. They're all in the same boat we were. Once we got to Palisade, it was a little bit of a culture shock, which is the other issue. My daughter was suspended, out of school suspension last week without any contact to me whatsoever. I got no emails. I had no phone calls. I had no information whatsoever. I had to call them the following day to verify that she was no longer welcome there. It's policy, I looked it up, that any contact that happens, we are supposed to be contacted. If there's supposed to be a suspension, the moment that you decide that that's the case, there's supposed to be an in-person meeting with the parents. Where was that? Where was that? When I asked where that was, they said, well, we told her to contact you. Why is that a 15-year-old's job? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Where's the communication? While we were in Junction, we spent a year and a half emailing teachers, making phone calls. I showed up to each and every class to talk to teachers because she's struggling. Sorry, I've been sick. I sound terrible. Because she was struggling. She wants to succeed. She struggles. Where was her support? We have a district full of teachers who are dying to have parents that give a crap. And who do give a crap. Where are those teachers going? And where are these kids supposed to go when they fall through the cracks? Because there's no communication. And it's a do as I say, not as I do policy through the district. My grandmother used to say, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. My daughter come up and says, where's theirs?
Thank you, Ms. Lowry. And then before I end, Ms. Hendricks, you were on there twice. Is there a reason for that? Yes, ma'am. All right, that concludes it.
All right, thank you. All right, so next up, we have our consent agenda. The consent agenda contains personnel actions and acceptance of gifts and items that are routine and can be approved by a single motion. Items on the consent agenda will not be discussed individually by the board unless an item is removed for individual consideration. Board, is anyone requesting any items to be removed from the consent agenda? Okay. Seeing none, I will mention that we had a total of $22,106.80 from gifts. So thank you to everyone who has donated so graciously. So do I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, we can call the vote.
Mr. Chavez.
Approved.
Mrs. Evanson.
Yes.
Mrs. Heights.
Yes.
Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Ms. Lima.
Yes.
All right, and then the board does not have any business items this evening. Board, any open discussion? Okay, seeing none. We have our board future meetings, March 4th. We're back here at 5 o'clock for a work session. And then March 25th, we're skipping, well, you know, so spring break, we skip that week. So we're back here the 25th for our business meeting. And then board, just let us know if you have any items that you want on any agendas. So, okay, we do have a motion to adjourn?